It ends with us. But it also started with them, right? Thank you. Thank you. Same time next week. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Eric. I have a stutter and I want waffle fries. And if you're not new here, hey, what up, whores? It Ends With Us is out in cinemas, and oh my god, the internet cannot stop talking about it. If you've been aloof to everything that's been happening, so was I. I'd read rumors about creative differences and a supposed feud that sounded more like tabloid nonsense to me. So I went to see the movie in cinemas out of morbid curiosity. Then I came home and I did some research on the drama because I thought this is an interesting movie to comment on for my channel. And oh my god, I did not expect there to be so much drama, which could turn out to not be just drama. There's a lot. So today we're going to talk about all of it, including the movie. We're going to talk about the drama, and then we're going to talk about the movie. I'm going to leave timestamps down below so you don't, if you want to skip the bullshit, you're too old for this, you have a life, good, go live it, queen, slay. And if you're too bored and you need some time being spent, then stick around. And I will summarize the movie slightly more than I usually do because the movie's still in cinemas, so like there's nothing that I can show you guys because it's unknown. I will use the trailer a lot though, so get ready to watch that a lot. But before we dive into all of that, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and hit that bell notification so you never miss a future upload from me, and comment down below if you've seen the movie. If you've read the book, what did you think? Did it live up to the hype, or is the internet hyping something that shouldn't be hyped? Because that happens a lot. Right. It Ends With Us, and why is everybody hating on Blake Lively all of a sudden? Let's get some context. So It Ends With Us is a 2016 romance novel by Colleen Hoover, and it tells the story of, and I kid you not, Lily Blossom Bloom. That's her name. Yep. Just gonna move and go with it. A young woman who, traumatized by her upbringing in a violent household, finds herself in an abusive relationship of her own. It is a heavy topic, so trigger warning. There's a lot of domestic violence and abusive relationships to be talked about. And back in 2019, Justin Baldoni, better known for his role in Jane the Virgin, acquired the rights for a film adaptation. Then the book went viral thanks to Book Talk, and yes, that is a real thing. And Blake Lively absolutely fell in love with it. Somehow she got connected to the author, Colleen Hoover, who incidentally was a huge Blake Lively fan, and they became sort of friends talking about a possible movie adaptation. And since Justin already had the rights to it, I guess somehow it all came together and they made a movie. Justin Baldoni is the director and stars as the main character, Ryle Kincaid, and Blake Lively is a producer and stars as Lily Blossom Bloom, the main character. And then the drama started happening. I'm sure there's a timeline and like timestamps and dates and all of that, but in a very summarized way, because there's a lot of allegations being thrown around and a lot of stories popping up, and now everybody's doing their own Blake Lively interaction of the past that has left them scarred. So let's try and ignore all of the internet noise of people trying to tarnish her because they see her as this bad person, and let's just try and look at objective facts. When the movie promotion started, Justin seemed to be MIA, completely gone from interviews, from press tours, from anything. And there was speculation that he may have had some sort of a feud with Blake Lively, stories that were being broken through TMZ, I think, about him being intimidating or performative on set. People started speculating that there was a rift between Justin Baldoni and the rest of the cast. However, come the movie premiere, and he's there, and turns out he may have had to go to the hospital, and it took a while, so he took a break from things. All good. But then at the movie premiere, he's not taking pictures with anyone. He's not doing interviews with anyone. He's doing his own thing in the corner. He even says that he's happy to take a step back because he's just so happy to see this passion project of his come to life.
This is your night, mister.
No, this isn't my night. This is a night for all the women who we made this movie for. This is a night for Blake. This is a night for Colleen. I'm just so grateful that we're here. 5 years in the making.
And looking at the promo pictures of this film, you'd think that it was a romantic comedy starring Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, real-life couple starring as Lily and Ryle, and you'd think that this is a meet-cute story of a woman who meets a neurosurgeon, and they live happily ever after. And it's not. It's about domestic violence. Then, of course, people and media started speculating, and all of this is happening. Deadpool and Wolverine, and It Ends With Us topped at the box office, the first time that a married couple topped the box office in respective films since 1990 with Die Hard 2 and Ghost. Remember when Bruce Willis and Demi Moore were considered A-listers? God, we've come a long way. 34 years to be precise. We're getting old. But this is very important because this is gonna bring them a really big fat check, because not only are they the stars of each film, they're also gonna see a lot of profit. And as producers, that's important. So they have a big financial stake. Then came the very contrasting ways in which the movie was being promoted. Quick reminder, the movie is meant to be about domestic violence, right? That is the central theme, and the idea is to bring awareness to that topic, to start a conversation and keep it going in a healthy, productive way. Not only that, but the story also sheds light on these types of abusive situations, and it shows that it's not always black and white. In fact, it was one of the things that made this book go viral, because you're introduced to this dreamy man, and they start this seemingly perfect relationship, and then out of nowhere, the book pulls the rug out of its audience's feet and reveals that he's actually an abusive monster. And then the audience is left, much like its main character, Lily Blossom Bloom. God, that name is stupid. They're left trying to reconcile the fact that this man that they were falling in love with and becoming protective of, turns out, is actually a domestic abuser, someone that could quite literally kill you. And the audience gets so engrossed in this story that then they're also left with that conundrum of like, it can't be, he can't be this bad. Like, I'm sure it was an accident. And
ah, boy, here we go.
And the movie also does that quite well, and I'll praise them, sort of, with a question mark on that, because the instances of abuse, the first time that we see them, they're edited in a way that it makes them look like they were accidents. So you kind of suspect there may be red flags there, but they're also so well disguised, which is very important in these situations of abuse, that sometimes it's so hard to see the person that you love as your abuser because you have love goggles. Anyway, it's an important message that will surely help thousands of people out there. And Justin Baldoni is doing exactly that. He's constantly bringing the topic to the forefront, bringing awareness to the topic. And then you have Blake. Blake Lively has been telling people to put on floral dresses and bring your girlfriends and let's go watch a cutesy movie on a summery afternoon.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
Grab your striped pajamas because you're not going to want to miss this. Bring your oxygen tanks because this movie is going to take your breath away.
Blake Lively is being a lot more blasé-da.
So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could
She's also using the film's momentum to launch her new hair care brand and using her alcohol company to sponsor the premieres of the film, even including specific menus that have quirky names associated to like characters or elements of the film, like It Ends With a Buzz. This is another thing that people are pointing out, that it's quite problematic to be making a girly pop moment out of a story about domestic violence. Alcohol is a very frequent component in cases of domestic violence. Alcohol is probably the most dangerous legal drug we have in the world. And she's using cutesy names to promote a movie. It's like, it's tone deaf, right? It's not Read the Room. And she talks more about it as a personal achievement than she could be talking about it as an important film with an important message and then bringing it back to that message. At the end of the day, if you're at the premiere of It Ends With Us and people ask you about the movie, why are you telling me about your hair care brand? I am bald. Talk to me about the work that you've done, about the people that you've met, and about the cases that you've studied, how you immersed yourself in this role, what you have learned, what resources people have. Use the movie to promote associations that support women in these cases, you know? Bring the heads of charities together for an event surrounding the movie on how they can, I don't know, increase the resources available to women or reach out in safer ways. There's so many ways that she could use this film to like actually bring it back to the message of the movie, and I can guarantee you that the press would be so much more positive than it is right now. People would not be hating on her. People wouldn't be going back in their minds like, how did she talk to me back when I saw her in 2011 at that random cafe one afternoon? Like, you'd be celebrating her, and you could probably learn a lot about what to do in those cases if you have a friend or a family member that's going through that, how to reach out to them, how to help them, how to offer your support without putting them in danger. So many things. And instead, we've got Ryle You Wait, the new cocktail to be served at the premiere of It Ends With Us, and I'm sure it's going to end with this one too. Then it came to light that Blake actually asked her husband directly, personally, to rewrite one of the core scenes of the film, which I think is the scene where the two main characters meet and they have about 5 minutes of dialogue. Very flirtatious, and it had Ryan's name all over it. Like, if you watch it, and you've seen enough of his movies, because he always plays the same character, you can see that it was the exact same person that wrote one and did the other. But the worst part was that the screenwriter didn't know. The screenwriter found out about this at the same time as everybody else, on the red carpet of the event.
You know, we help each other, we work together so much. So the iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you now.
You don't do that to a screenwriter. And when I say screenwriter, I say artist in general. That's someone's art. That's someone's work. That's someone's mind that went into it. So for you to ask your husband without telling that person for a movie that's being currently filmed, apparently the screenwriter thought that the actors were just improvising on set. And, you know, okay. All of this to say that Ryan and Blake are promoting this film like they would Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe it's because Ryan has found great success in the way that he promotes Deadpool. I mean, it is undoubtedly very successful. He found his shtick that's gonna last, and it's very easily adaptable into other things. Unfortunately, a movie about domestic violence is not one of those things. You can't apply the same sense of humor and quirkiness to two different pieces of work and expect the same result when the central themes are so different. Deadpool and Wolverine are about comic book characters. It's all about the action and the comedy and the lightheartedness. It Ends With Us is about the cycle of domestic abuse. Not a joke. So to promote these two movies in the same way, it just screams tone deaf. It screams that you don't actually care about what the movie is. You care about making it as profitable as possible.
It's not every day the husband gets to interview his wife's love interest in a film. It's kind of crazy. You know?
I don't remember seeing this on the schedule.
Dive in, shall we? So I saw you posing in a photo with Mrs. Reynolds, and I'm sorry, what do you call her? Do you guys have a nickname or something? Okay, no, just so it's Mrs. Okay.
People are gonna rightfully be mad, and you know, I'm not asking for the cancellation of anyone, by the way. Like, I'm not about to cancel people. If anything, I'm just telling y'all to not worship celebrities so blindly, because at the end of the day, they're humans, and they're sometimes they do these silly little things. But with all that said, is the movie even worth all of this? Is it worth all of this chitter chatter? And the answer might not be the same as mine. Let's get into it. It starts with her going to her father's funeral. She's had a contentious relationship with him, and she's struggling to come up with 5 things that she likes about him. And that's because, as the movie shows us later, he was very abusive towards her mom. He never directly hurt Lily, but she grew up seeing her mom stuck in an abusive marriage, not knowing why her mom never left, but swearing to never become like her. And that night of the funeral, she breaks into a random building and goes to the rooftop. I guess that's cool. She's in Boston, by the way. And she meets neurosurgeon Ryle Kincaid, played by Justin Baldoni, the director. And this is going to be our main guy. He's a neurosurgeon. They used older actors than they are in the book. There was some backlash because Blake and Justin were older than the characters. And it's so funny. Colleen actually came out and said, actually, that was my mistake because I wrote about a neurosurgeon in his early 20s, and I didn't realize they actually have to go to school for thousands of years. And the movie's going to do that thing that I spoke about earlier, which is they're going to show us the near perfect man, sprinkled with the smallest of red flags here and there. For example, he enters the rooftop in a fit of anger, and then he kicks a chair, but immediately apologizes and explains later to Lily that he's having a bad day because he's a neurosurgeon and he just saw a little boy die. And you're like, oh, okay, he must really be going through it because, you know, this is such a serious traumatic event to go through. Of course he's going to kick a chair. I'd probably down a bottle of whiskey and end up in the river, dead. So, you know, kicking a chair doesn't seem as bad in the grand scheme of things. And I believe this is the dialogue that Ryan Reynolds rewrote because there's a lot of very jokey, jovial back and forth banter that you'd expect to see in one of these like rom-com movies that have big stars attached to it, and they usually make a big fuss, like anything that Matthew McConaughey was in from 2000 to 2010. But they end up not sleeping together that night because Lily doesn't do casual and Justin is called to the hospital with an emergency. Lily then opens her florist shop. It's a dream of hers. Yes, Lily Blossom Bloom is opening a flower shop. No, this is not the movie's fault. This is in the book, I believe. So y'all gotta speak to Colleen because she was smoking something. She was cooking. And this conversation is very weird because in one sentence they're sharing their naked truths, like Justin just saw a kid die and she lost her virginity to a homeless man. And the next thing they're seductively not kissing, but almost kind of disrobing each other because he just wants her. And then as she's opening her flower shop, of course, a bored rich housewife walks in and offers to work there for free. Because this is Delulu land, where writers go to make up shit that would never happen in real life and call it a cutesy story. And what do you know? Alyssa is Ryle's sister. Of course she is. In fact, her brother and husband are there, and they all suggest going bowling because Alyssa just got a job. She didn't because a job would imply getting paid. She got a hobby. She got a pastime. That's where she's going to pass her time. But they go for drinks and food. And now that Alyssa works, again, using that term very loosely, for Lily and Ryle, despite all the sexual tension they have, they agree to remain friends. And this is when those little red flags start dropping. First of all, he's very insistent after that night that he needs to kiss her to get her out of his system. And apparently, according to the book, he wanted to f her. So they cleaned it up for the movie, I guess. And they kiss, and there's a lot of chemistry. But then, despite her protest saying we should remain friends, he continuously makes advances until one day at Alyssa's party, he has another quick moment where he tells her to shut up in a very intense, bossy way that, again, could be interpreted as he's being seductive and sexy and hot, when really he's a control freak who will probably hurt you. And even though they don't have sex that night, they do sleep together in the same bed because, again, he's so dreamy that when she interrupts foreplay to say that she doesn't want to sleep with him, actually, and that she's changed her mind, he's the first to put on his pajamas and say, okay, let's go to sleep. No problem there. So she begins falling in love with him. All of this context is basically to tell you how the movie portrays this meet-cute / development of relationship. There's no problems. It's completely perfect. They always say the right thing. There's no disagreements. Another red flag is when she's supposed to meet her mom for food and he asks why he wasn't invited, and he's almost like offended about it because he really wants to meet her mom. But again, he doesn't say that in an aggressive or mean way that you'd think, whoa, why the do you want to meet my mom so much? He says it in a way that makes him seem like he's genuinely invested in you emotionally, and he really wants to take that step with you because he sees you guys going the long run. It's romantic. And when they go to this restaurant called Root, Lily sees Atlas. And Atlas, we've been shown through flashbacks, is her very first love. It was this boy that was homeless that she helped, and they developed this really beautiful relationship. She had a troubled home. He also had troubles at home and in public. Nobody liked him. He was kind of shunned from society. And yes, he is the homeless man that she lost her virginity to. So she said that in such a jovial tone, but it was actually someone really important to her. They recognize each other, but don't say anything, and then just have a quick chat backstage, by the bathrooms, by the kitchen. And they're happy to see each other in good health and successful. He now owns that restaurant, and she owns her own floral shop. Is it floral shop, flower shop, or florist shop? I've covered all three. Let me know. And I gotta say, I didn't get why Atlas was here. I didn't feel deserved. You know, if we're already having to tell this traumatic story, let's focus on that. You know, let's not add another element that can just like murk things and then it becomes a love triangle. And we still haven't gotten to the abuse, the central theme. The movie is spending so much time setting up these characters and these romantic connections and trysts that you genuinely forget what this movie is supposed to be. And so far, it's just about a woman who met the perfect man and is now about to be torn between the perfect man and her childhood love. And that is not at all what happens in the slightest. But the way anyway, Also, I have to say, the actress they used to play Lily in her teenage years, wow, f***ing scary. She looks like Blake, but she sounds like Blake. Like, the tone of voice, even the cadence, the way that she speaks, it was f***ing scary. I genuinely had to do a few double takes to see if that wasn't like CGI'd on actual Blake's face, honestly, but then I looked it up and it's a different actress. So very, very good job there. I was very surprised. The first instance of abuse is when Lily and Ryle are in the kitchen being all quirky and cute, and Ryle is cooking something that starts burning in the oven. So in a rush, trying to stop the smoke, Ryle reaches in for the pan, grabs it barehanded. Lily's behind him trying to stop him because he's going to burn himself, and he burns himself and jolts back and hits her. But the way that he jolts back and the way that editing shows us, it's an accident. You know, it was the shock of burning his hand, and she was there. It was a complete accident. That's how she sees it. That's how we see it. That's how we all treat it. And after this, they go back to Roots, the restaurant, even though Lily did not want to go there because she wanted to avoid having to see Atlas again. At this point, she has a black eye and he has a bandaged hand. Atlas has the reaction that you'd expect. He sees his bandaged hand, sees her black eye, assumes that he's hitting her, and then confronts her in the bathroom and tells her that she has to leave him. He knows about Lily's past and the amount of abuse that she grew up around, so he knows how hard-hitting this must be for her, and he just is desperate to help her because of that. But Ryle, not knowing who he is, confronts them outside of the bathroom like, what is this? What are you doing? And Atlas wastes no time in throwing punches. They get into a physical altercation until Lily eventually manages to break them off. And I'm just thinking, this violence should be what Lily doesn't like, right? She must be averse to violent men. So seeing these two literally try to murder each other with their fists in the middle of a restaurant in a public place should really be the sign that Lily needs to get out of like these two dynamics, both of them. They're both dangerous because they're both violent. But the movie never says anything about Atlas being a danger, the way that he's resorting to violence. She never felt apprehensive around him because of that. And you'd think that that's something that someone would feel apprehensive of, or would want to portray that as something that you should feel apprehensive around. Eventually, Lily explains everything to Ryle outside of the restaurant, and they sort of make up. And then days later, Atlas shows up at Lily's flower shop, saying flower this time, and puts a card with his phone number inside of her phone case, should she ever need to call him. And from here on out, the movie sort of progresses quite quickly. It feels like it's rushing to get to the end. We do a few time jumps. Ryle proposes to Lily on the delivery room of his sister who just gave birth to a baby. He thought that that was the right moment, the appropriate moment, as they're all fawning over the baby, that, wait a minute, let me just propose to my girlfriend right now. And then they get married, and then they're married for God knows how long. So we do a few time jumps. And one day, Ryle drops Lily's phone by accident, and the card comes out, and he calls the number knowing that it's going to be Atlas. He confronts Lily, and despite her apologies and her explanation of what actually happened, he storms out of the room and starts going down the stairs of the building. And Lily, trying to reason with him, sort of walks in front of him almost, and then falls down the stairs and wakes up being tended to by Ryle, the neurosurgeon. And this is another moment that with the editing, it looks like an accident. It's taken like an accident. But at the same time, Lily becomes a little bit more self-aware, except it's not as explicit as I would have liked. And this is my main issue with this movie. But then one day, an article comes out listing the top 10 places in Boston to go to. And Lily's place is mentioned, but number 1 is the restaurant Roots, owned by Atlas. And there's a quote there included in the article where he mentions the name Roots comes from a childhood love, and about how she liked oak trees and how he made her a hollow heart in wood or something. And the shape of that hollow heart matches the small tattoo that Lily has on her clavicle. Something that Ryle has asked her about, and she has answered that is just something silly, a silly thing of the past, and has never really offered an explanation. So now Ryle knows that that tattoo has great meaning to her, and he confronts her, and this is the first time that he is objectively, unapologetically, undoubtedly a danger to her. He's very intense, and he forces her in a calm, angry way, using his presence to intimidate Lily into reading the article and reading the quote associated to Atlas's place. And then he asks her if she's in love with him, if she still loves him. And she's unable to say yes or no, so she says, I don't know. And that's when he loses it. And again, trigger warning, this is the most intense scene of the movie. He forces himself on her and tells her that maybe he hasn't loved her enough lately. And she's begging him to let go of her, to look her in the eyes, reassures him that she loves him and that he has shown plenty that he loves her back, pleading with her eyes. And he's just not listening. And then he bites her around the tattoo. Luckily, she manages to escape, gets to her car, it's raining, it's very dramatic, and memories start flooding back. And that's when she looks back and realizes that those instances, those accidents were actually his short temper and extreme anger, because now we see that when he got burned, he actually looked back and in a fit of rage, hit her on purpose. Or when she tried to reason with him, he grabbed her and physically pushed her down the stairs, could have killed her, and now literally tried to rape her. My main issue with the film is that they don't make it as obvious as they could that Ryle was actually violent, because it's really just shown in a couple of memories of like a less than a minute sequence. It's almost like if you go to the bathroom, you'll miss it. And then I realized that we are almost at the very end of the movie, and we have spent so much time painting him as the hero and the perfect man, and painting this as a romantic comedy, that when it hits you, it almost hits you without the needed impact, because then it just ends so quickly that it doesn't even give you time to process what's happening. I felt like I didn't have time to process what's happening. I was like, oh, whoa, wait, what? And then it was over, and I was like, oh, huh? And I get the intention of the film was to gaslight audiences and to cause a bigger emotional impact. And I'm not against that approach at all. I'm just saying that the ending felt rushed. They could have shortened the first two acts a little bit. There was a lot that was not exactly needed. They could have hammered in a bit more on the instances where she feels like maybe she's going crazy. Was it an accident? Was it not? They could have played a little bit more on that, but instead they spend so much time creating this romantic triangle and this love story that could have never been. And it's just so confusing as to like, what are the actual intentions of the film? And I didn't read the book, so I don't know if the book is as confusing as this, but I think that's the main issue, is that I don't know that it handles its themes like it should. I think that there was more to be said and more to be shown to make the message more impactful and more efficient. And instead we have a tonally inconsistent movie that doesn't really know where it falls on the conversation. She goes to Atlas and he takes her to a hospital and she gets a tetanus shot. And that's where she finds out that she's pregnant, which is probably not something that she wanted to hear as she's escaping her abusive husband. But she has a conversation with Atlas, who confesses that back when she thought he was homeless, he was actually breaking into an abandoned house to take his own life. And it was her kindness and her willingness to help him that actually saved his life. And so whatever she decides to do, abortion is never mentioned, but neither is adoption. It's a very quick, I'm pregnant, and he tells her, whatever you decide to do, you would be a great mother. Then they say goodbye after he helps her move, presumably. We don't see any of the move. We just see him in a car, and they say goodbye to each other, and he tells her to keep him in mind for when she's ready to have a relationship. Very mature, they say goodbye. It's very emotional, but very needed. And then we jump a few months into the future, and she's now fully pregnant with like a big baby bump. And she calls Ryle to go build a crib in her house. And that's where he begs her to come back. He says that he'll get some help. He'll make the changes. He'll do the work needed for it to work. And she asks him, what would you say to our daughter if she came home and told you that her husband, the man that she loves, is hurting her? And he says, I would beg her to leave and to never go back to him. And that's when he has the aha realization that he is the villain and that he is in the wrong, and there's no fixing this relationship. I think it's the first time that he also understands the severity of his actions and how they affect people. It's also a recurring theme between like bros, that they'll treat women the most misogynistic way possible until you bring out their moms or sisters. And then it's like, whoa, that's my mom, that's my sister. And I'm just like, and who do you think the women that you treat badly are? Like, do you not think that they also have people? Do you not think that their brothers would also care about how you treat them? Why is it that women are only worthy of being treated like actual human beings that deserve the basic decency from men when they're your sister or your mother? No. We don't know the situation after, if they're like co-parenting or whatever. We presume that he's going to be in the child's life, but how much, we don't know. And then we skip a few years into the future, and she's with her child in the park, and then she bumps into Atlas. Well, they have that little moment like in the movies. They see each other from across the crowd, and time stops, everything around them stops, and it's just them and nothing else in the universe. And I think they have a quick conversation, and then the movie ends. And again, the treatment of Ryle afterwards, we don't know what he did to try and fix himself. We don't know if he's taken any steps to address his violent behaviors. Is he just going to be in the child's life without any supervision? Is she not apprehensive that he might also snap at their daughter? Because men don't just snap at their wives. And that was the movie. I thought it was okay, but I don't think it did what it could have done. I think there's a lot of rooms to improve. Mainly, again, how this whole story plays out. I understand that they want to put the audience in her shoes, and I'm telling you that I agree with that, and I understand that. I just think they went too far. I understand that we need to present this man in a certain way at the beginning, but they go so heavy-handed, and then if you add Blake's promotion of the movie to that, then you spend 1 hour of the film thinking you're watching a romantic comedy. More than 1 hour even. It's like most of the movie is just a rom-com. There is a sequel to the book. It continues with us, I'm sure. It starts with us. Is it a prequel? Is it a sequel? I don't know, and I don't care. If a movie comes out of it, sure, I'll watch it. This book I'll never read because I've seen some examples of her writing online, and I can confidently say it's not for me. It's just not something that would appeal to my literary tastes. But no shame to people who like it. More power to you, and I'm glad that you're comfortable enough to have the possibility to yeah. And I think that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, feel free to leave it a like down below, subscribe to my channel, and click that bell notification again so you never miss any future upload from me. Also, I just want to reiterate, this is not a hating on Blake Lively video at all. It's analyzing the whole situation. I'm sure Blake and Ryan are lovely people. I think they're quite funny, and I think they have their charm, and just like everybody else, I think they're also rotten to their core. We're all bad people. We just have to know where to look. And until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, stay stuttering. Bye, guys.